Good afternoon, everyone. December 20th, and we're the end of the last sales training of the year. Very happy to have you with me. This is Kelvin Cheng, Coldwell Banker Dynasty, broker and trainer. And I just wanted to give you a nice little update slash cover some lingering items from now to the end of the year. But we do have some changes to look forward to in 2023. And I'd like to thank Eugene for sharing with me a couple of their revised forms and a couple of things that they probably did some 9 discontinued forms. So our CAR statewide membership is doing some types of improvements. Usually is for the better of the good or to help clarify any language. So it is prudent of our membership body to continue to update our forms and revisions every year. And we'll continue to see those changes always take effect April and December of every year. That is when they usually release the new form revisions. So one of the new and important forms is this solar advisory questionnaire. This form is called solar. And this is because one, in large part, many homes have been adopting and improving their homes with solar, whether it's a lease or they buy it. There is a lot of differences in types of panels, whether you own it or whether you're leasing it, how the payments work. Are there interests, it's called annual increases to the interest rates when they finance it? Do they have any service warranties, annual duties or requirements from the buyer or the new owner? And what happens when you sell the property? So there's a lot of stuff that have conflicting because every solar company has their own rules and contracts that they're not the same. So that is why, yes, we disclose this in the TDS and the SPQ if there's a solar. Yes, we usually try to share the assignment or whether it's purchased or not to the new buyers. But this form now takes care of a lot of that issues. So I'll try to give you a copy of what we're looking at because there is right here a little link that we can get into and kind of review this document. I don't know. Do you guys see the solar advisory now in front of you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Yes.
This is, thank you. So in this document, you'll see this is just only 2 pages. It's just a questionnaire. Difference between a lien, because they usually will file record a lien against the property until you pay it back. And there is some other information here just for the buyers and sellers to know that one is they're going to ask kind of like a SPQ. They're going to ask a few questions regarding the type of property, and it's in the language of the SPQ. Are you aware of? Because some sellers are aware, some sellers are not. So if this is a seller who installed the solar, it would be safe to assume they should be aware, or they should provide full documentation so that the buyers can understand what they're buying and what kind of lease or what kind of solar arrangement they have. So they should know when the invoice slash the contract will tell you the age, when it was installed, who's the company, what kind of power does it cover, the full portion of the property. Sometimes they over install solar, like in the contract that I'm doing right now. The solar system is actually 120% of the property, so it gives more electricity than they estimate the property should need. How many panels, what's the kilowatt size? So if I were you, I would just say, are you aware of these items? And I say, yes, I'm aware of this, this, and this. And I would probably write here, please see attached contract of when I purchased the property. It has all the answers inside. And
Kelvin, what you mentioned about 120%,
yes.
what is that?
So let's just say 3,000 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
And the solar company comes and they go knock knock. Hey, we'd love to sell you a solar company. Oh, the state is giving you a lot of discounts and programs and incentives if you upgrade to solar. we are a solar company. We'd like to introduce you to a our product, and our product is excellent. They're going to sell you on what you can save on your electricity bill. They're going to sell you on the system, and then they're going to give you, let us now come to the property. We will analyze the square footage, the type of appliances you have, and we will give you a estimate of what you need for power, what kind of solar panel systems based on where we locate it and what the maximum power we can get here. So let's just say the 3,000 square foot house uses, I don't know the exact kilowatts or milliamps or all the blah, 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 but let's just say you can get this 3,000 square foot structure based on its plumbing systems and the appliances you have installed. It requires roughly about 100 kilowatts per month, or 1,000 kilowatts, right? That our system, it can give you 1,000 kilowatts with 6 panels, and I'm making up these numbers. 6 panels do 1,000 kilowatts. Okay. What I'm saying, and what the pending escrow I'm in now is they put in more solar than the house technically needs. Okay, so if it was 1,000 kilowatts, they gave and installed a 1,200 kilowatt with maybe 8 panels to get there. So this could potentially accommodate future improvements on the property. Maybe people, for example, intend to get a Tesla or a
electrical cars,
or maybe they have 2 or 3 electrical vehicles. Oh, I know I'm going to have electrical vehicles, so I want to install more than what this house needs. I also want to cover either my electrical vehicles, or I have an electric RV, or maybe I have a lot of stuff that I have a lot of electric needs for. Maybe I plan to have a farm and I need to have aquariums, and I have filters going on all day long. So, or I put in a pool. And so if I need to run a pool, I need to run my equipment a lot more. So if I have those intentions, I could overestimate the amount of power so that I can cover my future improvements. That's all I'm telling you. Okay. So you can say, oh yeah, I only want 100%, or you can install 5 panels instead of 6. Okay. So you can do whatever you want with your solar company, but they'll give you what's called an estimate of your electricity usage and your past history as an example, and then any future intentions. They'll go through questions with you, and then hopefully they'll give you they'll basically give you what you need. Okay.
Okay.
These questions, you just offset it and say, please read the contract. I'm in and out. If I'm representing a seller, I just say, I'm not too familiar with the technology and the exact details. Please read the contract attached. And no, I'm not aware of a lot of the stuff, or yes, I'm aware of whatever. Answer each individual question honestly. If the property is owned, this section is applicable. Is there any balance due on any financing? Is it, blah, blah, blah. Is there any type of lien or encumbrance that still exists? Did they give you a deed of reconveyance? Did they remove the, stuff like that? This section talks about the leased solar systems. So most of the properties typically lease their solar systems with a monthly payment. So then you would fill in the information here, yes or no, yes or no. And then seller and buyer to acknowledge this added form that should be added every time that there's a solar installed on the property, whether it's leased, whether it's owned. Okay. So that's the new change, or a new big thing for us as industry professionals, because we're going to start seeing a lot more properties with solar installed, and some new builders are putting it on the roof anyways as well. So this is going to be an extra step, extra paperwork for us. And to me, I just help the client out and try to, just point them in the right direction on where to find some of these answers if they have no knowledge. Okay. So that's that. What does a solar company, a transfer look like? Well, I'll give you an example. Okay. So I'm on a transaction right here in 1000 Snyder Lane. And I happen to know and have the contract and what it looks like. So let me go ahead and take a look. This is a solar agreement signed between a seller and a solar company at the time of installation. At the time of 2022, sometime, I think it was April or March or sometime this year, the owner of this property made an agreement to finance 100% of the expense. So they did it for free and installed this company, and you pay monthly installments of $140 per month. Every year, the payment escalates 2.9% annual increases. This seller paid nothing at installation. They have 5 days to cancel this agreement, to review everything, 5 business days. That's standard language for California. What does this do? Well, in this property in Monterey Park, they owe nothing. They signed a 25-year lease
Yeah.
and $141 per month when you and the discount when you sign up for auto pay. And this will generate roughly 14 cents per kilowatt, excluding upfront payment. This is how much whenever you run your electricity, your SoCal Edison will tell you, oh, you used up 500 kilowatts this month, and they bill you on how much usage, and they'll tier them usually based on busy traffic day. It's called high it's the prime period, and then they'll have like the evenings and at 3 a.m. That's kind of like the off-peak hours. Peak they charge at a higher rate. Yes or no? So so what they do, this solar company will be getting an 8.4 kilowatt DC solar system with 24 panels, 1 inverter. This is estimated to give you 12,000 plus kilowatts in its first year, and its offset will give you 135% of your estimated current electricity usage. And that is the representative who sold it to them. They have a diagram of the 24 panels being installed at the rear section of this roof on top of the roof. And then boom, you have all of the fine print and the details of this agreement. Okay. So right off the bat, I have all the answers I need, most of the answers I need for the system that they asked us in the SPQ. So I have this much, I have 135% coverage, 24 panels, and 8, all this stuff is plug and play. Everyone who signed up for solar will have a copy of their contract. Okay. Now, the fine print, $140 with 2.9% escalation every year. It adds up, guys. And so what does it look like? You have payment options, this is all standard language on a contract. I'm not going to go through the entire contract. They give you a warranty, a roof penetration warranty. It's a weather tight for a period of 10 years. So what happens after the 11th year and there's a penetration through the roof, you're not covered with the warranty anymore. And the equipment warranty is there, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you can contact them to fix things, to do certain things. You have to do a cleaning every once in a while, and blah 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 blah. So this is all the contract that a buyer would have to go through. And at the end of the term of the 25 years, should you or not continue to release this thing, this contract with this Sunrun company says, Sun1 will remove the solar system at no cost to you. We will take this away, and you no longer have the solar installed on your roof. Okay. So this is just a 25-year lease, a true lease, and they got to give it back. Okay. At the end of the, or anytime during your 25 years, you could have an option to purchase this solar system if you're happy with it. And if you purchase it, the purchase price is based on the fair market value at time of purchase. Sunrun will determine its purchase price and hire an independent appraiser and give you a fair market value of what the cost will be. And if you sell your home, if you're going to refinance or assign this from someone to, even if I'm taking this property as an individual and I own the home, and then I want to refinance and add my family members, then they're going to have to be obligated to be responsible for the repayment and the assignment to everyone who is going to be the new buyers slash owners. So this will happen, and Sunrun has the ability to assign and give it to someone else, or a lot of these solar companies go disappear. So they technically could be gone whenever you want to try to get a warranty. But anyway, this is this company, this is the system. There's limits to their liability. You always read this section for limitations of liabilities and damages. Blah, 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 defaults, remedies, disputes, and whatnot. Okay. So these are the terms of the agreement. They go ahead and they sign it. I'm not going to show you that stuff. Monthly payment discount. And this is what the payments look like when you get 2.9% annual increases. Year one, $141. Year two, $145. You can see easily at year 7, it becomes $167 per month. And they give you an estimated prepayment purchase price based on its residual fair market value. Okay. And this is kind of like the type of residual refund per kilowatt per hours they will give you if they do not meet the output that they kind of declared at the beginning. They said, we'll guarantee you this much solar wattage to your home. And if they don't give it to you that much, then they will pay you a refund for the lack of them giving you this amount of solar. Okay. So that's that. That's who signed it. State license board, they're regulated. And, you know, these are all the disclosures. Any questions on a solar agreement?
Do they, Kevin, do they have the amount if they did not provide how much per month they're gonna reimburse you? You just,
The amount is right there. So, for example, this system
uh-huh.
says that they're going to deliver you, let me find that page again. Refund per kilowatt if guaranteed output is not met, right? So let's say year 6, this is easier. Year 4, 0.15 cents, 15 cents, you're guaranteed to get 43,163 guarantee output to your property, right?
Mm-hmm.
To date. Remember, it's
Okay.
to, okay? So if years 1 through 3, they had amazing sun years, and then year 4, all of a sudden is very quiet, they get the benefit of years 1 through 3 to cover up the output to date. So this is 43,000 is all inclusive of years 0 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
So what you would do is you take your readings on your solar usage and generation.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, and they're promising $12,000 in its first year,
12,000 the first year.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go down here, it's going to produce in the 25 years, it's going to produce a total of 256,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kilowatts per hour. So year 1 was 12,000 that they guaranteed. Year 2 is 24,000 if you times it by 2, but they're giving themselves a cushion to produce a little bit less due to maybe there's some what you call dust, debris, and let's call it smoke. If you have a smoke in the forest, in the Los Angeles County forest, you
Right.
will get bad air that puts smoke on top of your solars. If you don't clean it, you're going to get less performance.
I
Correct?
see.
kind of common
If the
sense.
well, let me see, if the solar system has a problem and it down for 3 months and did not produce anything, then I could request
You
for
should notify
reimbursement.
the solar company, and it's probably going to say something's wrong. I'm not getting any, I'm getting way low than because 12,000 is basically 1,000 a month, right? So
Right.
if you notice you're not getting 1,000 per month, obviously in the summer times you're going to get more because our days are longer. Your winter
Right.
times are going to be very short, sun, so you're going to get worse performance in the summer. Keep that in
Mhm.
mind. That's why they do this based on comprehensive, but it typically should give you about 1,000 per month for this contract and this roof.
Mhm.
This should be closer towards 48,000 by year 4, but they
Mhm.
give themselves a small cushion to go down because of whatever it is. It's always, the contracts are always prepared to lean towards the provider.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is that recently I am now experiencing I had the Sunrun leasing the house that I bought, and then the system went down from July, August, and September. They couldn't fix it, so they are doing reimbursement. That's really helping. So I'm gonna look at the contract and talk to them about what they guaranteed and how much should how much should they uh
Give back.
compensate or reimburse me.
Yeah, so you would use your table that you signed up for, and that's probably what they'll pay you back on by year, whatever year you're in. And then you have to look at the service arrangements and the warranties to get that fixed, because it's still
They
under.
already fixed it. Yeah, they
Okay, good,
fixed
good,
it. That
good.
took them 3 months.
Well, anyway, well, maybe that helps you, offset your payments that you've been making. Okay.
Right. Mm.
So
Okay, thank you.
that's what the agreement looks like. And then when we as agents, what do we care about? We care about the options. So in this typical Sunrun issue that we're doing with our seller, well, if you want to prepay all of your payments, the buyer has several options when they approach a leased solar system. They can fully prepay all of the monthly payments, and so that will be a total of 31,861. And the term is paid off. You're not going to have to make any monthly payments. They still monitor and maintain the system. It's probably just removing the interest out of there, and you still have your guarantee of Exhibit A. All right. Now, if you don't want to continue leasing the property, maybe the buyer might just say, I'm tired of payments. I'll go ahead and outright purchase this system. Well, it's $50,032.15. So they can make this theirs with a $50,000 payment, and now it's a fixture. But the problem is you only get manufacturer's warranty, which is about 10 years. You can maybe purchase an extended warranty, but if there's any issues, you have to hire your own vendors for your own fee. Okay. So the system is monitored, blah, 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 blah. But when you purchase the system, they don't give you the performance guarantee. So that rebate back when they underperform, that's not part of this contract when you purchase it. Okay. And then the last option to a buyer is to just pay the interest. If you want to keep your lease of, in our situation, $141 flat for the rest of the 24 years, then we can remove the 2.9% annual increase by paying an upfront, basically prepaying the interest. That's going to be $8,400.34, $8,434. Okay. So that's what it's like to deal with this situation in solar. But when you have that contract, it makes filling out that questionnaire much, much easier when you have a solar advisory questionnaire. So let me get back into the email. Any questions before we jump to the next paragraph? So we don't need this is an optional form in the next one called NCOA, non-contingent offer advisory. This is typically when you make an offer on any property in which it's non-contingent. meaning I have no appraisal contingency, no inspection contingency, and no loan contingency. If you have a client like that, then I strongly suggest you use this advisory when you send over your offer along with the when your buyer signs the offer, because there's a lot of risk that the broker does not advise against writing non-contingent offers. Even if it sounds like it's a great deal, you can still add this in and should add this in because there's always a risk. Okay, so there's another important highlight called the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement form. This is a new form that replaces the exclusive buyer representation agreement. So there's nothing new or nothing changed. The non-exclusive buyer representation form is basically whenever you have a buyer. And let's say this is a person that you're not that close with, you haven't built a lot of trust with, or you want to secure yourself from wasting a lot of time with someone who may or may not be loyal to you when they find the right property. If you ever have a gut feeling or a feeling that this person may or may not be loyal, the buyer prospect that you may not have a strong relationship with, this is the form you would use. This is the form that basically commits them to you being their representative buyer agent by making either an exclusive or non-exclusive relationship. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like, because I think it's important to take a look at this form. There's going to be a lot of buyers shopping around in the next year. It's going to be maybe closer towards a buyer's market next year. And maybe you will have to use this form once. So how do you fill this out? Well, you guys see it in front of you right here, right? The car form, BRBC.
Yes, we saw
All
it.
right. So if you're going to make a contract with your own client buyer, then you have a term, because every contract has to have an expiration date. It'll begin January 1st, 2023 and ends in 365 days later. And buyer says, I have no pre-existing buyer representation or compensation agreements with any other exclusive brokers, except for maybe they have one right here. Yeah, I do have an exclusive buyer representation, Kelvin. I buy property in Florida, and I have an exclusive relationship with my Florida agent. It's Coldwell Banker Florida Properties. Then they can name it here. I have no problem with it. It's outside my state. I can't do business in Florida anyways. They can name any agreements they have here. And I look to buy property here in Los Angeles County. I would fill in the more broad area if I were you. Don't limit yourself to a price range, because let's say I'm looking for property 700,000, Kelvin. I want to buy a property for my child. Okay, I'm going to get him something around 700, 750. So if you limit yourself from properties of 0 to 800,000, you've excluded yourself from $900,000 homes. So instead, I prefer you put a location, Los Angeles County, or all of the cities, or sometimes you're going to use this form as a one-off, meaning complete stranger calls me out of the blue, says, hey, Kelvin, I want to check out your property. I'm only visiting the next 3 days, and I'm out of towner, and can you set up the showings for me? Sure, I will set up the showings for you, random stranger. But since I don't know you very well, and I want to make sure that I do represent you on the properties, because I'm going to spend a lot of time researching and setting up your appointments for you, Mr. Stranger Buyer. I'm going to send you over this form, and I'm only going to check item 3B, that if you like the 4 properties that you wanted me to show you, only these 4 properties I'll have an exclusive relationship with you, that I'll be helping you write the offer, only if you like it, only if you want to write the offer. If you don't write an offer, that's totally fine. Then this contract agreement is void. All right. So that's how you would use this section here. And I would probably put 2.5% of the acquisition price as a maybe, up to you. It depends on what property it is. If it's a $5 million property, maybe I'll put 2%. If it's a $100,000 property, maybe I might ask for 5%. Okay, all depending on what type of properties you're looking at. Or you could put a flat rate saying, well, if they go around me, I at least want to have $30,000 commission paid to me because they're buying 1.2 million. Okay. Or you put a schedule in. If it's 0 to 500, they would owe me 5%. If it was 500 to $1 million property, they would owe me 2.5%. If it's $1 million and above, they owe me 2.25%. Those are all examples of how you could use this. All right. So that's it. They sign and acknowledge, and there's neither party shall have the right to cancel this agreement prior to expiration except by mutual. So I would check this box all the time. And anyway, this is the form that you would use, and you can add in anything else if you like here. And whether or not they're an entity, they can sign here, because obviously if you're showing it to an investor and an investor wants to buy a property and you go, okay, John Smith, investor, individual, buys the property, what is the buyer? And you show it to John Smith. Well, actually, my agreement with you is, yeah, me, John Smith, but actually my entity purchased that property 6 months ago, and it's not that buyer happened to be, ABC LLC. You don't have an exclusive relationship with ABC LLC, do you? So you might be losing out on that commission or not unable to enforce this exclusive relationship when you're dealing with an entity person. Okay. So just giving you something to be cautious about, because this is a way to sneak around this exclusive relationship. Secondly, I've seen people sneak around this. They go, I closed this transaction. Yeah, John Smith, I'm the buyer. And yeah, I have a relationship with you. I get it. But the person that bought that property that we looked at is not me. It's my wife. She didn't sign anything with you. She's the buyer, my spouse. You chase her. And then you're not going to be able to enforce anything. Get it? So giving you some things to think about when you show a buyer, because they can close it and write that contract with somebody else or with a relative. All right. So that's how you use this form. Any questions? All right, let's get back into the email. So there's a couple of other new forms, but let's get back into the non-contingent offer advisory, because we don't like our buyers to be writing non-contingent offers, but sometimes in a very, very hot market like in 2021, many of us had to in order to compete. So it explains what a loan contingency is about, what the appraisal contingency is about, why you have to do investigation. Broker recommends that you do not write a non-contingent offer. This is a risky activity. It is your decision alone, cannot be made by your broker or real estate agent. So this is a strong one-page advisory. You better know what you're doing, buyer. I can't protect you once you breach this contract. If you do, I can't really protect you because your deposit is fully at risk now. Okay, so that's what it looks like. I've never seen this one. This is called the ABCD. Okay, so the ABCD form says anticipated broker compensation disclosure. Well, if this is paid pursuant to the MLS, let's see what this looks like. Wow. This is kind of detailing out commission and potential changes to the commission. Kelvin, when I showed the property, they were advertising 123 Main Street and they're giving out 3%. Okay, And then all of a sudden, we didn't write any offer, but a month passed. Now my buyer's interested because they reduced the price, $50,000. So my buyer wrote the offer now at the lowered improved price, but I noticed that the commission is lower now. It went from 3 to 2.5%. Well, my answer to you as broker would be, it doesn't matter when you first show the property, it's when you send out the offer. That is the compensation offered at the time of when you wrote the offer. So I would tell them that 2.5% is fair, but I also would advise them it does not hurt to ask for 3% since they previously were willing to give it out. Maybe they will still give it to you out. So you could try to ask for 3 with a CBC form right here. Maybe the seller will, and send it along with your RPA offer. So that way they can consider your offer along with that CBC at the same time. Don't throw it in later. You throw it in simultaneously. And then the listing agent might come back at you and say, look, we like your offer. You're the only thing we have. We'll get you your price, but the CBC at the MLS, we're not going to be able to honor it. We can only give you 2.5%. If it were me, I'd probably just say, okay, thank you for trying and let's get the deal going. So I do the best for my client, not necessarily what's best for me. That's called fiduciary duty, guys. I don't care if I'm getting 2.5 or 3. If my client wants it and they're getting the terms that they want and our offer is going to get accepted, that's what I got to take. But I tried. Okay. You can at least feel good at night that you tried asking for the CBC. But Kelvin, 2.5 is fine. I'm happy with that. This particular MLS listing that I'm talking to you about only is giving out 1%. Well, that's a different story. 1% is abnormally low, but every brokerage has the right to set the amount of commission that they want to what's called share to cooperate with other brokers. And it sounds like those listing brokers that only give out 1% or less, they're not very cooperative brokers. That's basically how you got to deem this. So what do? Well, you can still take to those brokers out there that offer 1% or less. You can still add and do the same thing. Send your CBC asking for 2 or 2.5 or 2.25, and have them review the offer. Let them counter you back. And again, if at the end of the day, you can always bring it up to your buyer. Look, buyer, I got the terms down. We negotiated the heck out of them. They're willing to accept our lower offer, or they're willing to accept a purchase of a contract. However, the commission on this offered by the seller is reduced, or I say the commission on this is abnormally low at 1%. Okay. I'm being very transparent with you. I really wish to help you with this, complete this sale. I pretty much wrapped up all the terms and agreements that you wanted, and we wrote up on the offer. I think they're going to accept this, but I do have what's called my minimum, because I'm a professional, I'm an independent contractor. I do have a minimum that I need to reach of terms of my compensation, because 1% of $1 million is only $10,000. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm spending a lot of time. This property is located in Orange County. I got to drive a lot of times out there. If you like me as your agent and I'm very close to there, is it possible you, buyer, help me receive what's called fair compensation, which is typically around 2%. Okay. And you can ask your buyer to pay that fee of the remaining commission. You have to? No. You know what you're worth. You know what your time is worth. You know the property that you're writing an offer on, and you know the distance and the amount of legwork that you're going to have to do on the back end. So you have to dictate your rate. I can't set that for you. Okay. But it is possible to have the buyer partially pay the commission. It doesn't have to be a full percentage point. It could just be a flat rate, just to help me out. I don't need a full percent from you, buyer, but how about $5,000? This could be added to your closing cost. This is basically to make up for what they just reduced the commission towards, or this and this and that. So if you feel comfortable, you want to add that in as a line item, you could. I leave that discretion up to you. Talk to me if you have these situations in your business. Okay. So this is to acknowledge any changes in the commission being offered. New form. I probably won't be using that one that much. Buyer transactional advisory. What the heck is this? So transactional advisory. Okay. All right. We have a buyer's advisory. We have an inspection advisory. Now we have a transaction advisory. This is because buyer, you have to have reasonable care. You need to have some assistance and to take your own duties to protect yourself. You know, you have the ability to hire a legal, talk to your accountants, to do due diligence, to read every document that we send to you, and everything and the items on the BIA. Buyers, I need you to do this part. I will do the other parts. Okay. These are my scope and my duties. I have authority and obligations and limitations, but for properties in which it's I'm representing you, I'm going to provide and review all the forms, and I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to deliver and communicate to you. I'm going to have relevant materials. I'm going to have reasonable, competent, and diligent visual inspection, AVID. I'm going to do this and this and that.
Alvin, and then
Yes.
the buyer say, why I need you?
Statewide what?
The buyer go and get the attorney or the legal service help out, and then why I need you as my agent? You don't respond anything. Why you get why you get paid? Why they make it so complicated?
I could tell you that if the buyer wants to use an attorney to write their contract, they could. Attorneys don't show properties. Attorneys don't go all out and give them the local market knowledge and expertise and hand-holding throughout the transaction. And I don't know. I mean, yes, a buyer could use an attorney to write up a contract. They do that in other states of America. Yes, I've used an attorney to purchase a property out of state. Yeah, I've used it multiple times. But what's called the value proposition that you offer is how you communicate, how you deliver, and how you service your client. That's kind of your value proposition. I leave that up to you, but I give you a lot of classes where I talk about what we do and the extent of what we do. And we're definitely, you know, like I said, we're really looking out for their best interests in multiple ways, not just the transaction, not just the negotiations. A lot of times we're providing resources. We're connecting them with a network. We're negotiating repairs. We're checking out and doing a visual inspection. We're checking public records and permits and all this crazy stuff, along with all the human psychology behind things, which is kind of like a marriage counselor or a dispute resolution person, or sometimes we could become a shoulder to cry on. So a lot of those times, yes, we're doing more than our roles as a scope of an agent. All right. So this is just a transactional advisory. I probably will add that into our mandatory forms, even though, you know, to me, it's nothing harmful for us to add in. All right. Now, cancellation of buyer representation. All right. So this is a form where maybe I have a BRE exclusive with a buyer B. And then for some reason or not, I have an argument with that client. Maybe I'll go ahead and cancel them out and I'll release them from my agreement exclusivity because I can't stand them. They use me and I don't want to be known as their representative. I'm going to go ahead and send them a cancellation of the representation. And maybe it's mutual or unilateral. Okay. This is where you would sign and make an official termination of your relationship with this client. Okay. They could have went around you. They could have done something bad to you. Maybe they set an appointment with you 10 times and 10 times out of 10, they were late or never showed up. I don't want to deal with these people. Maybe I'll release them. Okay. You would use this form. you could and could not ask for compensation, depending if you have grounds or not. Any questions? Wow, this is another new form. This is called Notice of Broker Involved Properties. Whenever you, and you don't have to be a broker license. You could just be simply a licensee salesperson. If you, agent, shown property and you've done any of these steps, which is called being involved in the potential procurement or introduction of that property, if you physically took this buyer into the property and shown it, or you showed the property to buyer virtually and gave them, like, for example, a Matterport or a virtual link, if you submitted to a seller a signed offer from this buyer to acquire, lease, exchange, or this property was introduced to this buyer, and I put it in an email, auto email, or blah, 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 blah. What this does is it identifies that, yes, a broker was involved in this 5 properties that we've shared with you, shown to you, or delivered to you. And you could do a list of 20, you could do a list of 3, whatever it is that you do. What does this do? This gives you a confirmation of this buyer. Maybe it's at the time of showing, you bring this form with you, and this is a confirmation of your procuring cause. Okay? This is basically in a downturn or in a market that there's a lot of buyer's market, and buyers might not be loyal, and they might just go ahead and write an offer with the listing agent. If you want to avoid that situation of them going straight to the listing agent, writing up an offer and striking a deal, you get your buyer to acknowledge that you've shown this property and you're part of the procuring cause. Okay, that's my advice to you. Any questions? All right, rental property, owner disclosure. We're going down this list and then we'll end today's training. Okay. This is a new form. It says rental property owner disclosure. This is intended to be provided with a lease listing or a property management agreement. And I don't want you to have any property management agreements. So what happens if we have a property, the seller wants to sell, and they have a tenant in place? Okay, well, notice number 1, this says owner disclosure. Just not say agent disclosure. So the owner is supposed to fill this out, not you, the agent. All right, owner's name. Let's just call him RPO. It's going to be John Smith. He has a property at 123 Main Street in the county of Los Angeles. And the purpose of this is to provide any known material facts or disclosures to the owner, to us as the agents. So here is something to help us help them during the lease or sale of their property, to help them prepare themselves when it gets time to do the TDS and the SPQ. So what do? Well, seller, thank you for hiring me to be your listing agent. I'd be very, very happy. Here's what I can do to help you plan ahead, because a lot of times we're going to have to give disclosures to the new buyer. And I don't want you to be rushing or finding answers in the future that you may or may not have knowledge about, or you're going to be rushing through stuff. Why don't you go ahead and take a look at the questions that you're going to be answering later on once I get you under contract? Seller, do you have any knowledge of any lead-based paint? Is this property built before 1978? If yes, did you do any renovation or lead-based paint services? Blah, 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 blah. Do you have any reports to share? Oh, you had done nothing? Okay. Maybe you have no knowledge. Okay, so you have no knowledge. You can put no, that's fine. Okay. Do you have any water retrofit or conserving plumbing fixtures that you've done in the past for water conserving compliance? No, you haven't changed any toilets. Everything's original. Okay, no. Water heater, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so anyway, all of this stuff gets them to start thinking about selling and knowing if they have any of these questions, but it helps you understand Maybe I do know some things in advance. Maybe this will help me market the property if I know that they've already done remediation for asbestos, if I already did remediation for lead-based paint. So if I have reports or this owner shares with me that they have an annual or a quarterly pest control services going on, that's good. I'll brag about that. I'll say, hey, we have quarterly service periodically with our pest control. So it's very, very well treated. No termites should be on here. Blah. Okay, so you have all of these things, whether it's the depth on the property, mold, any no knowledge about asbestos, and gets them to think about whether they have a carbon monoxide or not, or smoke alarms. So this is all good stuff, because when you put this out into a renter, when you have a renter coming in, it's good to know these information so that way, notice how the renter doesn't acknowledge any of this stuff. It's only for us as the brokerage and agent to acknowledge these facts so that way we can be better scripted when we talk to the tenants. Okay? Any questions on this one? So we talked about the solar and all of the ones above. Now the seller's payment to buyer broker. Okay. This is new. Seller's payment to buyer's broker. Okay. This is kind of like a confirmation or anything regarding the commissions that are being paid. So if we procure a buyer and the offer and the sale is accepted by the seller makes a commission payment to the buyer's brokerage, right? So let's say it's 2.5% of the purchase price. Okay, good. So if you're going to have any modifications or changes, this is a confirmation of the seller's payment to buyer's brokerage. This also could be deemed as the suitable form that we would use to, for example, to send or receive a 1099. Kelvin, 1099? That's weird. 1099s aren't needed when we get paid through escrow. Not so fast. The law has changed this year. So let's talk about 1099. And I want to show you an article. Let me find it for you 1 second.
Oh, you just had your training, huh?
I'm still looking for it. Hold on. I can't find it. Hold on. Okay. Anyway, let me make a Google search this. Okay, I found it. You guys see this article from NAR? Okay. If you do, great. If you don't, then please let me know. So the letter of the law now, in the IRS has made a recommendation that cooperative commissions are now required or highly strongly recommended to complete a W-9 1099 miscellaneous form. That's something that's kind of changing to us whenever the compensation is greater than $600, which basically, this is not a new law. It has come to NAR's attention that not all real estate professionals are aware of this requirement. The IRS requires any compensation of greater than $600 for services provided, blah, 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 to provide and complete a 1099 miscellaneous, give copy B of the form to the individual who received the compensation and file copy A with the IRS. So this requirement only applies to payments made to individuals and does not apply when the payments are made to corporations. We are incorporated, guys, so we are not individuals. But if it was Kelvin Chang, broker, and I received a commission, then I'm supposed to get the 1099 miscellaneous. Does that make sense? But because our company, CBD Investment Inc., is a corporation, we do this law requirement does not apply. However, listing brokers, if you represent a listing of us from us, we should still try to make it a part of our business practice to obtain a completed Form W-9 from anyone to whom it pays a commission, whether it be an individual or a corporation. Property owners do not need to complete a 1099 miss for the commission they pay to a real estate because the activity is not part of their business. So they don't need to create a 1099 when they pay you whatever, 5% for leasing out their property. Okay, but here's an example. Joe, the seller, lists a home for sale with real estate broker Don. He places in the MLS and offers a cooperative commission to any MLS buyer representation. The seller accepts the offer. The transaction now closes. At closing, the escrow makes commission payments to both the list broker and the buyer's brokerage, right? Here is who is required to report commissions to the IRS. List broker has an obligation to report the commission payments made to the broker, even though the broker received the commission from escrow. Okay. Broker has an obligation to report the commission amounts that he pays to the buyer's rep, and neither seller nor the buyer have any obligation to report the commissions that their real estate representations receive. Okay. So that's how we treat it. We issue you guys your 1099s of the money that we pay you. But now they're gonna highly strongly recommend to have a W-9 from anyone that pays us, or that we pay to others. I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Well, that's it for today's training. Is there anything in your business? I have, there's 5 of us in this room. Anyone have any questions on anything and separately off or offline? I could stop the recording as well. Well, if nothing then, thank you, Jane,
Yeah,
for being here.
appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
Calvin.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry
Happy
Christmas. And have a
holidays.
wonderful New Year's.
Yeah.
Have a lot of cool stuff, and I'm very excited to reach the end of the year. It's good, and next year hopefully will be much better. So 2023 should be a more normalized market. We had a lot of ups and downs in this year, 2022, but I believe rates will stay kind of still high, but it'll become more of a normal / buyer's market in some areas. So there'll still be all the lack of activity that happened the second half of 2022 will probably spill into 2023, where some people now got to make some movement, activity, volume. And so I hope you guys stick around for that, as they're all postponing and delaying the inevitable. There should be more sales activity and volume going on in 2023. All right.
All right.
Okay. Bye, guys.